U.S. intelligence expert, Beijing dictator to unmask after 12 years. Unusual movements in the Chinese military, beat she circulates in the Central Theater Command. Unusual. Chinese internet surprised by fantasies of Chinese-style Democratic and Republican parties. Dare to use the international version of WeChat? New terms will send chills down your spine. CCP shuts down numerous government social media accounts, exposes propaganda tactics. It's all covered in today's China Truths. U.S. intelligence expert, Beijing dictator to unmask after 12 years. CCP leader Xi Jinping has established a dictatorial regime within China and aggressively pursues expansionist policies internationally, which increasingly alarms the global community. A leading American intelligence expert has published a research report revealing that the Beijing dictator has ruined China's image over the past 12 years, and has now finally taken off his mask. In detail, on May 17, John Schindler, a former senior intelligence analyst and counterintelligence officer with the National Security Agency, published a research report in the Washington Examiner titled "She Takes Off the Mask, the Beijing Tyrant Has Spent 12 Years Wrecking China's Image." The report describes Xi Jinping as an out-and-out communist. Throughout his leadership, Xi has focused on strengthening the CCP's grip on power. Under his rule, the CCP's authoritarianism has intensified, surpassing even the intolerance for dissent seen during Mao Zedong's time, the regime's authoritarian founder. Xi frequently draws parallels between himself and Mao and promotes a personality cult within the party similar to Mao's. The CCP narrative credits Mao with founding the nation, Deng Xiaoping with enriching it, and Xi with fortifying it. Xi is credited with transforming the Red Dragon into a global menace. Xi's words and actions reveal his aim for global dominance, with the CCP aspiring to supplant the United States and redefine international norms and rules, which he terms the community of common destiny for mankind. In 2020, FBI Director Christopher Wray labeled the CCP's espionage efforts as the greatest long-term threat to the United States' future. During his decade-long near-total control of China, Xi has dispelled any illusions that the world's most populous country and second-largest economy might be a viable future partner. Xi has formed alliances with rogue states such as Russia, Iran, and North Korea, moving away from the law-abiding, free democratic nations of today. The Xi-led CCP regime now poses a greater threat than the Soviet Union did during the Cold War, standing as an irreconcilable foe to Western countries and their values. Xi bears responsibility for this and undoubtedly deserves condemnation. This report, crafted by a top intelligence professional and based on factual analysis, is seen as the most decisive and comprehensive Western study on Xi to date. It challenges the prevailing view in mainstream Western media that Xi is slowly turning into a dictator, instead showing him as inherently anti-Western from the start and dispelling any illusions about his intentions. Mr. Li Jianping, former Beijing lawyer, commented, "This is an exceptionally rare and insightful report that deeply examines the nature of Xi Jinping's personal dictatorship and its formation process." He noted that the report is objective and analytically profound, likely to significantly influence the Western perception of Xi Jinping and the CCP, marking a pivotal moment. Another instance of Xi takes off his mask. On May 16, just before the release of the article Xi Takes Off the Mask, Xi Jinping hosted Russian President Vladimir Putin in Beijing. Coming right after Putin's fifth presidential victory, the visit aimed to thank the CCP for its support following Russia's invasion of Ukraine and to seek further backing against the United States, which stands in opposition to both Russia and China. This gathering emphasized their unified stance against the U.S. and its allies. Since the invasion, Xi has refrained from condemning Russia's actions, fostering a level of cooperation between the two nations that is unprecedented. The CCP has played a key role in sustaining Russia's economy amid Western sanctions, particularly by supporting its war efforts, which has drawn significant responses from the US and the EU. Talks between China and Russia concluded with a joint statement aimed at bolstering their comprehensive strategic partnership, with commitments to expand trade, energy, and technology cooperation. The statement praised the CCP's objective and fair stance on Ukraine, rejected Taiwan independence, and endorsed the CCP's drive for national unification. The statement also sharply criticized U.S. policies, labeling them as hegemonic and destabilizing, especially highlighting U.S. military deployments in the Asia-Pacific. In response, China and Russia agreed to enhance their cooperation. The report She Takes Off the Mask discusses Xi's ambition to replace the U.S. as the global stabilizer, a role the U.S. has held since the Soviet Union's collapse in 1991. Since Xi's rise to power in 2012, he has pushed China towards confrontation with the West, especially the U.S., favoring tactics like espionage, widespread cyber attacks, and covert political maneuvers over outright military engagement. Li Jianping commented, over the last decade, particularly recently, Xi Jinping's overt and firm political alliance with Russian dictator Vladimir Putin has fully awakened the United States and other Western nations. An incident reflects Xi's communist roots. When Xi Jinping began his rule in 2012, he occasionally seemed to lean towards a more progressive stance. However, his speech as the heir apparent revealed a firm commitment to Marxist-Leninist principles. On February 11, 2009, Xi, then Vice President of China, visited Mexico. While meeting with local Chinese expatriates, he remarked, "There are some well-fed foreigners who have nothing better to do than to point fingers at us." Online, some extreme nationalists expressed excitement over Xi's remarks, noting it had been a long time since they'd heard such blunt and straightforward language. They commended Xi for elevating the spirit of the Chinese people and undermining the influence of foreigners, characterizing Xi Jinping as resolute and as a successor to Mao Zedong's firm stance against the West, among other accolades. Several CCP-controlled media also covered the incident, with an article on the official Xinhua website provocatively titled, "It's So Satisfying." Xi Jinping criticized some foreigners who have enough to eat and nothing to do. Yet, Xi's provocative comments sharply contrast with the CCP's promoted image of reform and openness, shocking the international community and garnering considerable attention. Moreover, the international community noted Xi's decision to make these remarks in Mexico, seen as America's backyard, as a clear jab at the United States. Looking back, it appears that Xi had already taken off his mask then, showing his true colors. Today, it is evident to the global community that Xi no longer conceals his communist thoughts and actions. Alongside nations like Russia, North Korea, and Iran, he is actively challenging the U.S. and undermining the established international order and norms. Mr. Li Jianping asserts, Xi Jinping's character and personal motives dictate his actions, which are contrary to political logic and basic human decency, causing widespread disapproval. The CCP is bound to be overthrown by the people of China. A respectable nation and a wonderful world cannot afford to be further marred by such a dictatorship and its dictator. Unusual movements in the Chinese military, beat Xi circulates in the Central Theater Command. According to NTD-TV, in addition to the military exercises conducted by the PLA's Eastern Theater Command following Li Ching-te's inauguration as President of the Republic of China on May 23 and 24, there were also unusual activities observed in the Beijing-based Central Theater Command, one of 5 major PLA commands. It manages military affairs for Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei, Shaanxi, Hunan, Shaanxi, and Hubei. Based in Beijing, its main tasks are to defend the homeland and the capital, and to support other commands during combat operations. On May 25, Tian Ming, a pseudonym who is familiar with the military, revealed that the Central Theater Command reacted to the drill announcements by sounding bugles at midnight, a time typically reserved for rest, and initiating training exercises. This unit's primary responsibility is the defense of Beijing. Tian Ming disclosed a sense of widespread dissatisfaction with Xi Jinping among the troops. Amid the recent heavy rains in Hebei, a phrase has been circulating among the troops, "Flood the Zongnanhai," beat up Xi Jinping. He also noted the increased security measures around Beijing. Identity checks on Beijing's streets have become more frequent, especially to strictly monitor non-residents entering the city. Surveillance of residents has also intensified. Moreover, the area around Beijing is ramping up its war readiness. Tian Ming, living near a military base in Hebei, said that since Taiwan's elections in January, every household has been given an emergency pack in preparation. He explained that Beijing would be a primary target in any conflict, leading residents to seek refuge in Hebei. Tian Ming believes that the greater risk for the CCP, should it launch a war in the Taiwan Strait, lies internally. He said, once the conflict with Taiwan begins, the coastal losses will be evident, but the greater losses will occur in the capital. Maintaining political stability is essential. As the saying goes, the people's government fears the people, a rogue regime breeds rogues. Over the past year, the CCP's military has seen significant upheaval. The Minister of National Defense, Li Shangfu, along with more than a dozen high-ranking officers, including Rocket Force Commander Li Yuchao and Political Commissar Su Zhonghua, were unexpectedly ousted. The Equipment Development Department, one of the 5 major military branches, has been disbanded. Analysts believe that Xi Jinping's distrust of the military and the prevailing dissatisfaction with him among the ranks could pose substantial risks if the CCP wages war over Taiwan. Independent commentator Kai Shinkuan recently posted on Platform X, stating, Xi Jinping truly doesn't trust the military generals, who in turn are largely dissatisfied and not loyal to him. Going to war would require empowering the military, and once power is delegated, reclaiming it is not straightforward. Any slip-up could abruptly end Xi Jinping's indefinitely extended tenure. Unusual. Chinese internet surprised by fantasies of Chinese-style Democratic and Republican parties. The Chinese Communist Party rigorously censors online content, and discussions about Western democracy and freedom often face suppression. Yet, a video titled Fantasy, China's Democratic and Republican parties recently surfaced online, adapting America's two-party system to a Chinese context. Released just 2 days ago, the video quickly attracted over 300,000 views and sparked discussion among more than 9,000 participants. Uploaded to the Chinese video platform Bilibili, the video is described with the intent to let viewers experience the flaws and problems of the American two-party system by mirroring it onto China. The video begins by clarifying that the comparison is not meant to praise the American system but to deepen understanding of U.S. politics, which also struggles with significant bipartisan conflict. The narrator points out, does anyone really think everything in America is perfect? For example, America doesn't have our Xiaomi phones or the billions in subsidies provided by Pinduoduo. The video continues to delineate the core values of America's Democratic Party as freedom, equality, democracy, and diversity, while the Republican Party values family, morality, unity, and nation. It notes that rural Americans tend to support Republicans, whereas Democrats draw significant support from urban areas. The author notes that in the U.S., the Democratic Party primarily attracts young people, ethnic minorities, and urban middle-class individuals, while the Republican Party is supported by older white men, farmers, and blue-collar workers. Transposed to China, the Democratic Party would likely draw singles, ethnic minorities, and the LGBT community, with strongholds in developed coastal regions and cities like Chongqing. In contrast, a hypothetical Chinese Republican Party would appeal to older Han Chinese men, migrant workers, and mainstream thinkers, predominantly from rural central and western China. On the corporate side, companies like Tencent, Alibaba, and various IT firms would likely support the Chinese Democratic Party, whereas Huawei, Guizhou Mutai, and coal industry entities would back the Chinese Republican Party. While the author's overview of the American political parties may not be completely accurate, the discussion has nonetheless sparked political reflection among Chinese citizens, leading some to ponder which party they might support if China had similar political factions. Many Chinese netizens were surprised, commenting, "Can I actually see this in China?" Meanwhile, others expressed concern for the creator's safety, hinting at potential suppression from authorities. Dare to use the international version of WeChat? New terms will send chills down your spine. Many overseas Chinese rely on the international version of WeChat to stay connected with friends and family back in China. However, a recent update to WeChat's privacy policy has sent chills down the spines of some users. In detail, a video by a netizen known as Australia Alex Teacher has been making the rounds online, highlighting these concerns. He points out that many overseas users are now met with a pop-up when opening WeChat, requiring them to either update their phone number to a Chinese one in order to continue using the domestic version or switch to WeChat and keep their overseas number. Upon closer inspection of the updated privacy policy, Alex discovered several alarming details. WeChat asserts the right to suspend or terminate any of its services at its discretion. Furthermore, if a user's registered phone number is in the US, Australia, the UK, the EU, or Singapore, additional terms come into play. One particularly troubling aspect is that WeChat claims ownership of all account names, user IDs, and other identifying information, with the ability to reclaim and reuse deactivated accounts. It remains unclear who would have control over these reclaimed accounts. The policy also grants WeChat and its affiliates a perpetual, non-exclusive, transferable, sub-licensable, royalty-free, worldwide license to use user content. This means they can copy, reproduce, host, store, process, rewrite, modify, translate, perform, publish, and display content across any media and platform, worldwide. Digging deeper into the privacy policy, Alex found that WeChat shares personal information within its corporate group. Additionally, if a WeChat user communicates with someone using the domestic version of the app in China, their interactions are subject to the domestic version's rules. These domestic privacy guidelines allow WeChat to collect a wide range of data, including step counts, phone contacts, location information, and anything shared on moments, similar to a Facebook wall. Even group chat details like names, announcements, member nicknames, and settings are stored on WeChat's servers. Alex admits he hadn't paid much attention to privacy policy updates before, but this one sent chills down his spine. The issue has sparked discussion on Platform X, with some users calling WeChat merely a tool used to gather user data. In the world of WeChat, everyone is running naked with absolutely no privacy. While some have pointed out that the privacy update in question is actually 2 years old, it seems many users remain unaware of its implications. This has prompted discussions and warnings to help others understand the risks associated with using WeChat. CCP shuts down numerous government social media accounts, exposes propaganda tactics. The recent wave of local governments in China shutting down their official WeChat and Weibo accounts due to budget constraints and staff shortages has raised eyebrows. As reported by China Newsweek, major cities like Kunming, Xi'an, Changsha, Shenzhen, Nanjing, and Qingdao are shifting to higher-level government accounts, official websites, and apps for publishing. Over the last 2 months, over 10 provinces have shut down municipal social media accounts, impacting various levels of government and administrative departments. The Digital China Development Report, 2022, by the Cyberspace Administration of China noted the existence of 110,000 government new media accounts as of May 2023. A worker from Shaanxi highlighted the low engagement on these platforms, stating that even internal staff don't engage with the content, which often garners only single-digit views. This has led to frustration among employees tasked with updating these accounts, as the effort seems pointless. In Wuqiao County, Hebei, the lack of dedicated staff has led to prolonged content creation times and the eventual neglect of the accounts. The primary issues cited were content homogeneity and plagiarism. Some local governments have outsourced their social media management to local media teams. In Shenzhen, project budgets for these operations range from several $100,000 to over $1 million yuan annually, requiring at least 2 operators per account. Ms. Lin, part of an outsourced team in Beijing, manages a media matrix with 2 main accounts. She describes the difficulty in engaging a narrow audience, which results in very low readership numbers. Under pressure to produce results, her team has resorted to purchasing fake traffic. The South China Morning Post reports that due to financial constraints, many governmental institutions are finding it burdensome to maintain their online presence, leading to reductions in staff responsible for these tasks. Regions such as Fuping County in Shaanxi and Weiyang District in Xi'an have been clearing out redundant media accounts. With the CCP facing financial difficulties, local governments struggle to fund basic operations, forcing cuts in non-essential departments. This situation has left many local government media outlets unable to effectively report on local matters or address resident needs. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.